Hey guys, we're back. We all know that grappling is not the most spectator-friendly sport. But combat jiu-jitsu brings the excitement to a whole new level.
The most popular, consistent, and ever-evolving sport in martial arts is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Right from when Carlos Gracie learned the art of Jiu Jitsu, there has always been an evolution in technique, apparel, and rules. There's a new form that Jiu Jitsu has taken. No more stalling or boring matches. This new competition will go head-to-head with the MMA world and create violence in BJJ. Submission only. No stand-ups.
Amazing on the back. Oh, a nice takedown here by Cowboy.
Slaps allowed. This new BJJ is combat jiu-jitsu. Combat jiu-jitsu, also known as CJJ, is a combination of both BJJ and palm striking, but in an entirely different way. Combat jiu-jitsu is made up of both rules in BJJ and its own rules. This new sport has one technique that distinguishes it from the rest of the pack. It allows open palm slaps. It is also done on the mat, not inside the cage, with no fighting gloves. This new way of doing jiu-jitsu was founded by the pioneer of modern jiu-jitsu, Eddie Bravo. From no-gi jiu-jitsu to submission-only grappling EBI, and now to combat jiu-jitsu, Eddie is a limelight to the growth of jiu-jitsu in the modern era. According to Eddie, combat jiu-jitsu was first on the list before EBI, and he did organize some combat jiu-jitsu competitions in 2012. But because the California Commission didn't understand the new sport, they didn't approve the rules he set. So he had to settle for submission-only grappling in the meantime.
Combat Jiu-Jitsu was something that I was trying to start before EBI. Because of the strikes involved, you have to get the commission involved. And this was back in 2012. But the commission wouldn't let me do it outside of a cage. They were like, I don't know, outside of a cage.
After 10 EBI shows and seeing how people turned up and loved the new grappling competition, the ever-resilient Eddie went back to the commission to seek approval for his first love, combat jiu-jitsu, and his dream came true.
After like 10 shows, I went back to the commission. I said, can I do it now? The commission was a big fan of EBI, like all the guys in there. And I said, can I do combat jiu-jitsu now, like outside of a cage the way I wanted it, with palm strikes, no gloves? They were like, hell yeah.
Oh.
One of the major reasons combat jiu-jitsu was created was to get BJJ back to its roots. This is because BJJ has moved from a self-defense sport that it was known for into a sport jiu-jitsu where it is full of stalling techniques and techniques that could destroy you in an actual fight. Techniques like pulling guard, or sitting in 50-50 would never happen in a street fight.
Affected his performance.
Arm lock from the 50.
With combat jiu-jitsu, there is zero time for this type of technique, as your face will turn red from the heavy slaps of your opponent. Another reason Eddie decided to begin CJJ was to show pure jiu-jitsu grappling away from the stalling of sport jiu-jitsu and MMA jiu-jitsu.
MMA Jiu-Jitsu is still very theoretical. Everyone's got their theories on what works and what doesn't work. We don't really see that much MMA Jiu-Jitsu anymore. Most fights are a kickboxing battle. So we don't really have the data on. It's still very theoretical.
According to Eddie Bravo, there's little data on jiu-jitsu in MMA.
For people, we don't ever get to see MMA Jiu-Jitsu, only in the UFC, and that rarely happens. Stand people up from side control. In combat jiu-jitsu, stand-ups, we have get-downs. We only allow 1 minute on the feet.
MMA fans find it boring and want more strikes and kicks. But to get the full undiluted fun and exciting jiu-jitsu, combat jiu-jitsu comes in the full package. CJJ takes the form of MMA and BJJ.
One thing that is really exciting about combat jiu-jitsu is the fact that you have young grapplers that are thinking about getting into mixed martial arts.
It is more of the higher level of BJJ in a crossover ground to test yourself if you can transition to MMA.
Beautiful.
If you can take palm strikes, then you could do well getting punched in the face.
For people who want to see if they want to do MMA, like doing MMA, just wanting to do MMA, because if they don't like being hit in the face with a palm or a slap, then it's not for them, right?
So what makes combat jiu-jitsu different from both BJJ and MMA? Rules. There are 5 important rules and regulations that make the sport of combat jiu-jitsu different from the gi, no-gi, and MMA. One of them is that each CJJ match has a 10-minute time limit, excluding EBI overtime, that will be added if the fight is a draw. In the EBI overtime period, each fighter is put in a submission position for 2 minutes, one defending and the other attacking the submission. There are 2 submissions the attacking fighter can choose from. One is the armbar position, called spiderweb.
Just control.
Nice, James. James Gonzalez now he's free. James Gonzalez.
The second is attack from the back, which allows the fighter to control the back with hooks and seatbelt grip.
Sheridan Moran.
Still, if there is no submission win among both fighters within the 2 minutes given, then the only way the fight will be scored is by the fighter that has the fastest escape time. Number 2, combat jiu-jitsu is not a point-based grappling competition. You can only win by submission, TKO,
that left hand, Madrid spins into that.
Oh, he's out! Oh my goodness!
or EBI overtime rules. Also, no submission is far from your reach. All submissions are allowed.
Jason Hayden. Let's finish it. There we go. He's going deep on that.
The third rule is how the slap strikes are done. No elbows or punches are allowed. Only open-handed strikes are allowed to the face and body of the opponent. And this is done only when their knees or butt are on the mat. And speaking of getting to the ground, this is where the fourth rule comes into play. 1 minute after the match started and fighters were still on their feet, the referee would have to initiate the get down rule.
We only allow 1 minute on the feet wrestling. After a minute, if there's no takedown, flip a coin, we go top bottom, just like wrestling.
In this rule, the action is stopped and a coin is tossed by the referee to determine the position of the fighters and the position that they will start the fight, which is ground wrestling. The winner of the coin toss will choose the position they prefer. Will they start with a butterfly guard or be in the opponent's butterfly guard? The fifth rule is the purgatory position. When one opponent is standing and the other is on the ground, this is known as the purgatory position. This position is only allowed for 30 seconds, and any more time spent in the position will be added to the overtime round. This rule was created by Eddie Bravo to keep the fighters always on the go and eliminate every boring aspect of the jiu-jitsu fights. A lot of fighters from both the MMA community and BJJ are buying into the idea of combat jiu-jitsu. The first CJJ World Championship was in 2018, where Wagner Hosha became lightweight CJJ champion.
20 seconds, as I mentioned. Now it's free. Wagner Hosha trying to pull it free.
And Chad George, the bantamweight champion.
Grimacing. The output here.
Other big names have graced the stages of CJJ from both MMA and BJJ. In BJJ, popular names like Andrew Tackett, who is the CJJ welterweight champion.
Under the chin. Tackett, he's going to finish it off!
And he's on his way to the finals. Andrew Tackett.
Craig Jones,
Driving the knees through, passing, looking to take the back. Closing the deal on Cowboy right here. He's striking him.
Striking.
Oh, he's tapping.
It's done.
and Ben Eddy
30 seconds.
are some of the BJJ elites in combat jiu-jitsu. In MMA, UFC veteran Donald Cerrone, who went against Craig Jones, and former UFC flyweight champion Brandon Moreno are some of the MMA fighters entering combat jiu-jitsu.
And Dustin Ortiz, back to back.
Combat jiu-jitsu is gaining popularity, and now most matches are aired on UFC Fight Pass.
As soon as he had the back exposure, he threw the choke around, started threatening the choke.
Not only that, CJJ is also paving the way for other combat sports like Luta Livre and Kenpo Jiu-Jitsu, and the opportunities for a wider audience will definitely take the sport to greater heights.
How about Buchecha and Gordon Ryan combat jiu-jitsu?
Oh, man.
That's like combat jiu-jitsu is the pro level of jiu-jitsu.